Thank you, Isaac and Kaydence. In January, we heard of results of the bilingual seal proficiency. Kaydence, Isaac, do you remember when you took the test for your bilingual seal?
Yes, I remember. Just thousand.
What date was that? In January, in February?
I believe it was in February.
First week of February, perhaps. So our Intercultural Community Outreach Department heard of our students, our two students, reaching the bilingual seal proficiency. So as we were planning the event, we wanted to recognize Kaydence and Isaac for the special achievement. On February 13th at the Kirtland Central High School varsity basketball game, before the start of the game, we surprised Kaydence with this achievement. She thought that it was a senior night, which eventually turned into her recognition of the bilingual seal. And then the following day, on February 14th at 7 p.m., we had a surprise also for Isaac Merritt, that during the halftime performance that we brought him on the court along with Nathan Brady, who is also in attendance here in the press conference, that we recognized Isaac there in the middle court, and a lot of our staff with Dr. Begay, Donovan Russell, who is our ICO supervisor for Equity Council, and Dr. Begay for the bilingual multicultural education coordinator. And then we also had several board members attendance too, with Christina Aspis at the Kaydence Yazzie's recognition on February 13th, I believe. And then on February 14th, we had Gary Montoya in attendance also to recognize Isaac Merritt's recognition. And we also had Superintendent Carlson in both games attending this recognition. So now I would like to take it over to Dr. Berlinda Begay to give the history of the bilingual seal of New Mexico.
Yat e shik eda shidena adet da isenolts a do kun kilchonolonigi she yabet ahnin shlira tratnasani bashishtin kilchini da shcheda shin da shanala tselchi das kana holia red mesa Arizona do e nasha ado heha ade da isenolts a do kun kaiso kregi amado je ado baltra ado large not ani lingi Mr. Carlson ado ultra betanahashji dasitahi kontlat narana Mr. Montoya a dot nahania ado kun ya alchina se kahigi to a ha dia bahojonigi ko hashin sagan kalchina a be bahodini zinspenia a kun hikai ako di naltos bilingual seal liyo spahishi abelagana je bahodishna hodan dio tode rahodzo igi be lada azli do kwa Central Consolidated School District gi kwa ultra sato e yahot o alchina endayil igi bahodishna. Good morning, everybody. All the people out there listening, and then those who are present here. We are broadcasting from the Bernice Piochi building. We have our superintendent, Mr. Carlson, here that's present. We had our board member, Mr. Montoya, who was here earlier. And then we have several of our ICO staff members here. We have Dr. Alfreda Harvey, Ms. Cheryl Benali. Mia Cientes is busy with her tasks, and then Mr. Russell is back there somewhere. So That's not our full staff. Some of our staff are out and about in the field, but we comprise of the Intercultural Community Outreach, ICO. And one of the things that we do is under the State Bilingual Multicultural Education Program, we oversee, implement, and manage the Navajo and Spanish heritage and dual language programs in the district. So this bilingual seal actually started in 2014 from the state of New Mexico. But with our district, we didn't implement it till 2017 because you have to go through a process to get it approved as a policy. So in 2017, CCSD school board approved to have the bilingual seal be brought here and implemented, and that became a policy. So since then, we have had several recipients. The first Navajo bilingual recipient came from Kirtland Central High School. Her name is Annalicia Toledo. And then we had 10 more students who received the Spanish bilingual seal. And so we're very proud of these students that have received this seal. Since the inception in 2014, only 38 Navajo students have received the seal in the state of New Mexico. And so these two have been added to it, making them 40. And then all the others that have received it too. So that's a history of that. But each tribe in the state of New Mexico, they design their own assessment. And so ours goes through Department of Diné Education under OSCAD, Office of Statistics, Curriculum, and Instruction Development. So through there, that's who conducts these assessments. And these assessments are all comprehensive based questions. So you really have to have a foundation of understanding of the language, and then your response has to be in Navajo. And so there's a difference. I always say that there's a difference between memorization and to actually have comprehension. There's a big difference in that. But just having witnessed these two, they do have that comprehensive background. And also want to thank their families, especially their parents, grandparents who have had a part in their success with this award too, because that's where it begins. And so I want to thank them. We have some of the parents here this morning. I'm very thankful that they have the language in the home. And so there were several students who tested for that, but we got 2 from our district. And it's really monumental now because today the state of our Navajo language is, it decreases every year. And it really is up to you if you want to revitalize it and maintain it or sustain it. Our Navajo language is actually more at a sustainability level than other tribal nations in this state and other with our neighbors too in Canada. So with these two, they'll provide some background in terms of how they got to this level. So I just wanted to share some of that information. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Begay. So we'll go into the introductions of SEAL recipients, but before that, I want to recognize our parents who are in attendance today. We have Kaydence Yazzie's mom, Dr. Alfreda Harvey. Yep, thank you very much. And then to our right, we also have Isaac's family. We have Osinda. And we have Anthony, who, and we also have Anthony. Thank you. So, students, before we go into the Q&A, I would love for our audience and for our guests to understand a little bit more of your background, who you are, what's your interests, and just to give some context for our guests to know a little bit more about you. So, Kaydence, if we can go ahead and start with you, just where you were raised, going to high school, aspirations out of high school, and then just go into how you've learned the language and implement that into getting your seal.
Okay. Hi, it's Kaydence Kaydence Yazzie in the show. Auto touching and like in Ani Bushes team, my dishi Dutch chair, Auto Sinodine Dushnella. Hello, everyone. My name is Kaydence Yazzie. I currently go to school at Central High School, and I am currently a senior as well. For me, I feel like growing up, I didn't have as much Navajo in my homestead. It was there, but it wasn't, implemented on me to, really learn it. And so I feel like my introduction to really the language and the culture itself was through my family ceremonies and, going to school, especially in elementary. That's where, I found a lot of interest, and it became fun to me. It became really fun to me to learn the actual language itself. And, going to ceremonies and growing up, I picked up some things here and there, and it stuck with me all the way throughout middle school. And then I felt that high school, I just didn't, need Navajo. I didn't really take it. And I haven't taken Navajo for, I want to say 4 years now. And so with that, at my high school, I am 12th grader. I'm a part of numerous clubs. I'm the student body vice president. I'm in National Honor Society. I am currently playing basketball with the Central Varsity girls basketball team. And alongside that, I am in the Equity Club, and I currently hold the title of Miss Northern Navajo Teen for the year 2024-2025. And so with that, I do want to continue my education to learning about Native American studies and, really getting in depth more with the language itself, because I feel like that's everything starts with the language. And I feel like to learn other things, you have to understand the language itself. That concludes my answer.
Isaac, go ahead.
Good morning once again. I'm Isaac Merritt, and for me, learning the language was at home, and my grandmother only spoke the Navajo language. So at home, that's all that's really spoken. English was not really spoken that much, just to the younger kids. But for me, back in the day when I was growing up, I only spoke Navajo most of the time, and I've taken Navajo class in elementary and all of my 4 years in high school. And the language starts at home. It doesn't. You really have to listen to what's going on at home and listen in onto the conversations, and then with the school helping with the children and the Navajo classes and the extra curriculums. With that, the students can really pick up on the Navajo language, learn the fundamentals of it, the basics, and the fundamental laws of the Navajo language. So that's what I did, and Navajo language has interested me, and it's always been a part of my life, and to this day I still speak it. That will conclude it.
Jonah, thank you. So now we're going to go into the Q&A portion of this press conference. and just for some guidelines here, anyone that's going to be virtual wanting to participate in the Q&A, we absolutely welcome any questions virtually. Our students are able to hear you, so if you just would politely raise your hand on the Google Meet, and then we'll go ahead and have you unmute yourself. We'll direct you to unmute yourself, and then you can freely ask questions to our students here. And we'll go ahead, and if anyone in the building here would like to answer a question or give a question, just go around the corner here, back here. We'll give you the microphone here where I'm at. And to just start this question, Kaydence and Isaac, I know that you two have definitely different backgrounds. You have someone that was raised to understand the language and grew up with that going into the Navajo bilingual proficiency test. Kaydence, on the other hand, you had to work extremely hard to understand the language. You had a lot of catching up from what I understand. So Isaac, I want to open it up with you just because it wasn't as hard as you said it was, correct?
Yes, it was quite easy, actually.
If you could go ahead and just elaborate a little bit, kind of just what was that proficiency like? Can you tell us a little bit about what was going on in that assessment from what you can remember?
Let's see. Well, during the test, you had to, or the folks in there, they would question you in Navajo, and you would respond to them in Navajo. So on the topics there that they question you about, I did some. I already knew what they were saying because I have, like you said, I have that background, and that I would just answer it right there. I didn't really have to think about it. It was just easy.
Did any of your peers or friends talk about what you were going to walk into? I mean, was there any sense of, were you nervous at all going into the bilingual SEAL proficiency?
I was nervous at first, but when I walked in there and I seen what was going on and the questions, I wasn't nervous anymore. I just became more confident because, like I said, they're easy to me.
Thank you, Isaac. Now, Kaydence, let's move on to you. You definitely did touch on it a little bit, but just explain the process. Were you nervous? I mean, you probably had your eyes set on the assessment for a while, or maybe you didn't. Can you tell us a little bit about the prep going into the assessment?
So with the assessment, I understood I had signed up for it, but I didn't know what was gonna be asked. Like, I didn't know what I was gonna walk into, and so that day I had the assessment, I actually forgot about it, and so I showed up kind of last minute, and a few days before that I remembered I had middle school assignments from COVID, and I kept those because growing up I feel like there wasn't any internet source to actually look for certain words and to look for certain, I guess, lessons. And so I kept those assignments because, I felt like one day I would need them. And so I looked back at them, I believe only for like 10-20 minutes. And so I looked back at those, and it was just a refresher. And then come the assessment day, I had looked online, and I tried to find as much, I guess, words, try to refresh my Navajo, because like I said, I haven't taken Navajo at the high school, and so I felt like I was behind, and I felt at first scared and nervous, because I didn't know what I was walking into, like I said. And then I come to the room where the assessment was happening, and I just see a bunch of Navajo ladies, and then at first I wasn't scared, and then I sat down and they just kind of stared at me, and I was like, what? But it was fun though. After that I wasn't really scared. I wasn't nervous. It was, like I said, it was fun. I just felt happy being there. So yeah.
We have one question here from KOB4.
Like how you guys said, you guys both have had different paths of learning the language. You started it at home, and you kind of had to work like as growing older. But at the end of the day, how she was saying, there's only 40 students that have this SEAL proficiency. So why is it so important for you guys to revitalize your language and actually like continue speaking it?
Ladies first.
So when I was told that there was, only 38 people who have passed this assessment, it was very, it was very heartwarming to me because I seen it as, one of my biggest accomplishments, knowing the, I guess the total rate of stuff behind the assessment. And so I believe that it's very important now because the language is very scarce to learn, and not very much kids can understand, I guess, and comprehend a lot of things. And so to me it's very important to want to learn and to, I guess, understand the past, and how, I guess, not how, but why the language is, I guess, going down now. To me it's just it's just very important. It's just who I am as a person, and it reflects on my family as well. So that's all.
Isaac?
What was I gonna say? The language is going down, like she said, because there are not many children that go and attend Navajo class, and they don't see it as something important to learn. And so the interest of learning the language is going down, I would say, rapidly. And at home, not many parents talk the Navajo language at home, which is saddening. And only the older generation would talk amongst each other in the language, and it wouldn't be passed down to the parents and then on to the children. So it's not really being learned at home, and that's where the actual learning starts. So if the children would start listening to their grandparents and the older generation, they would be able to kick on real quick.
Well, how do you feel about that number 40? Do you wish that, it went up? Do you wish that more kids,
Oh yeah, I would want that 40 SEAL recipients to boost up to at least 100, so that we can expand on our language.
Isaac, just real quick too. So, and maybe in your experience, if it's the younger kids who are not having interest, do you think that's true, or is it more in the high school level where you're seeing your peers more interested in the language, joining Navajo class, those Navajo classes that you're also teaching at too? And if you don't mind, maybe talking about that a little bit as you're a mentor in some of your classes.
Okay, so could you repeat the question?
So the question is, just you're talking about loss of interest. Do you think that starts at the elementary level, or is that also at the high school level? Or have you seen maybe in the high school level that you've noticed students interested in wanting to learn the language and revitalize it?
Well, on the elementary level, more of the kids will lose the interest in learning the language, but in the high school level, some of them are actually interested in learning the language and wanting to study it more. So it's mainly in the elementary side where they lose interest on it.
And can you talk about those classes? Because you're a mentor, is from what I understand, right? You're in the
student aid, yes.
Your student aid, that you're teaching other peers in your classroom. Can you talk about that a little bit? Your experience with that?
Yeah, so I'm a student aid for Nathan Brady, which he was here a while ago, and when he teaches the main message of the lesson plan, some kids will still have questions on that lesson, and they would come to me and ask for a refresher and to go maybe in more depth of it, and maybe to break it down for them. So that's what I do. That's what I do.
I'm going to go ahead and open up a question in the Google Meet, or if there's anyone else here, Dr. Begay, we'll go ahead and let you ask a question here. And if anyone else on the Google Meet, please raise your hand. We can go ahead and unmute you. But Dr. Begay, if you can come over here and have your question.
Yes, I have several, but I'll start with this one. So, as ICO oversees the Navajo language, heritage, and dual language programs, and you did indicate that you did have Navajo heritage through elementary, and then now Isaac is taking Navajo at the high school level. So I wanted to get your feedback, which will help us too, in terms of what works in the classes that you've taken, and what do you feel is important, and how do you what would you recommend for our Navajo language teachers that are in elementary, middle school, and high school to get more of our children to want to learn the language?
Kaydence, we'll start with you on that question.
So I was talking about this with my mom a little while ago, but I feel like, for me, my experiences, it was definitely hands-on stuff. And so not only this, but when the teacher, actually interacts with the students and, physically goes over and helps them and, wants them to learn better and to actually comprehend stuff. And so I feel that my elementary teachers did a very good job of that. And they weren't really stuck on, one curriculum and one activity for, like 2-3 weeks. It was always different. Every day it was something new. Every day it was something, like a new word to learn. And I feel that they need to carry that more into the middle school and to the high school, because after my elementary days, I feel like it got more like we just did paperwork. And it wasn't really hands-on stuff. There wasn't as much activities. And like I wouldn't want teachers to believe that you're old enough, you should just be doing paperwork, you should be reading and stuff. Like I feel that they should still teach us even the simple and basic things that we learned in elementary, because I feel like that's where I got a lot of my language, vocabulary, and just a lot of hands-on stuff. So
Isaac, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, like she said, in elementary, that's where the beginning of it starts. And also, like she said, one-on-one learning from the Navajo teachers helps a lot. And going towards the children, one-on-one is most effective at helping the students learn the language. And yeah, it through the middle school into the high school, yes, it does go towards mainly paperwork, but we're getting a refresher of what was taught back in elementary. That would help. That would help a lot. And so that would help a lot.
Kaydence, can you kind of talk a little bit about, some of the hard work that you kind of put into this proficiency skill? Like, how you said it wasn't really like something that you grew up with. So what do you have to say to other kids out there that are wanting to learn the language but are kind of waiting to get over that hump of actually doing it because it may be a little hard?
So I feel like my advice to, I guess, not only the youth but to older people as well, if you want to learn the language, then you have to really put your mindset to it, and you have to want to do it yourself. You have to stay disciplined, and I feel like that's something that I did. I found lots of interest in it. I feel like more growing up, I had a bigger interest of it, especially in the arts and crafts and ceremonies and stuff that I would be a part of. But I believe, sorry, I believe to actually wanting to learn it, you have to do it yourself. You can't have someone holding your hand and telling you do your work, get your work in, or finish this, finish that. You have to have discipline yourself. But in the end, I feel like it's fun. It's not something scary. It's not scary to be able to reach out and ask questions as well. But just to have fun. That's really all I have to say.
And so, for you, what do you have to say for kids, that obviously didn't grow up learning the language as you did, and what advice do you have for them?
So it's not too late to start learning the language, even if you're an adult or even older. But going out to other clubs that they have going on, say they have a club out here in Shabrook, they do have Navajo classes, and you could attend those and learn from there as well. So it's not too late to start learning the language.
We're going to go ahead and maybe do 2 more questions or 3 if we can. But is there anyone on Google Meet that would like to answer a question or have a question answered? In the meantime, I'll hand it over to Dr. Begay.
Okay, another question. We all know, as I shared earlier, the status of our language. It doesn't take a $1 million study to know where it is. You just have to start from your home first to see what the status of the language is in your home, because that's where it begins. So based on that knowledge, our culture, education, and the language isn't passed down in a majority of our Navajo families, the homes today. So as a young person, as a young Navajo woman, as a young Navajo man at this age, what do you feel? How can we bring the value of the language back to our younger generation?
Like I've said before, learning the language at home is mainly the starting place to actually kickstart your knowledge and know where to start and what to do. But the elders will be able to help guide you through it. And learning at home is where it all starts. You can listen to stories from the past and the history of the language and who came up from it, how it derived, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Can you repeat your question?
Hello? Hello? So as a young Navajo woman, how at your age now, what do you feel is a way to bring the value of our Navajo heritage language back to our younger generation.
So, to answer your question specifically the youth, I feel that it starts at the homestead, and when they send their children off to the schools as well, that's where they can pick it up. And so I feel that at schools it should still be incorporated. Like they should have interesting things at school, like they should I feel that teachers should understand what interests their kids, and not only the elementaries but at the middle school and high school level as well. And I feel that I hope that answered your question.
I feel that if I could add on to it, that they should make learning the Navajo language more fun to the children, so it'll go smoothly. Yeah.
We're gonna wrap up with this last question. Adanek achanan kididish kilkad. Ajashi the nebazad bayat the jo hoyu nihidana bizad ado yenahos da ebenina dishjin the do de dits da do bedo bespeda hazanda ako ashin di ashit press conference adanek acha adol nilan the ebenina oyu nihik ada ist a bilaganik achet a yadalt do ik that the he benina ashi benina hot o press conference gi alia ndedi a ked na addish kiligi the neck ache gonan kedish kil do ad the neck go bahadolna ako na addish kidigi a adina netja hat ishi benahoch ahagi hashit ego nihizad sato chunol ego adolil.
Di nihizadigi di nahachin bitchin hades zeto ad neck eche bitchin yashtkiko hot ad bin achin yehedot ado hot ad shishin nachet de deeds ado hot ad yededot ado a nepizadigi de dots ado hot ad shin yehedot
I didn't episode be I the episode I should the episode bohosh ado the episode be yanke bohosh ado the chin though away ado asane ado akayaje do ashki yaje the episode the ben the yanke ado the sad do excuse me ado akore hehe
Everyone, thank you for joining us for the press conference, Revitalizing Language. I want to thank you for attending, and a special shout out to Kaydence Yazzie from Kirtland Central High School and Isaac Merritt from Shiprock High School. This concludes the press conference. Thank you for joining us and have a great day.
We have a live for you guys, so we're gonna disassemble stuff first and set up the table so that you can just be patient with us for a little bit more. We'll have lunch up here in a bit. Good job, you guys, and Jenny.
How do you buy tickets for fighting?
It's online.
Oh, not scared.
No, just this one. Wait.
She's got a good girlfriend. No. No.
I went to elementary. I was in kindergarten.